guys, today we're not going to be doing a tier list on a popular book series. May I present to you the epic tier list? Captain Underpants : that first epic tier list. First we have the adventures of that Captain Underpants. Here are all the chapters. I like the introduction of George and Harold, and also the introduction of Mr. Krupp. I like how George and Harold make their own comic book about superheroes, and that their greatest artist, UPERHEROS, is Captain Underpants. All thought I'd cry with the boys pranked the entire American football game at their school. Mr. Krupp did catch them in 4K. And then Mr. Krupp made George and Harold do his chores, which resulted in the boys hypnotize the INGs Mr. Krupp into the amazing Captain Underpants. But Mr. Krupp thought he really was a hero and went out to fight crime, so what the boys wanted to save him, but also had to save the world from Driver's diaper. Then they defeated him, and after George poured that water on Mr. KRUPP's head and turned back into Mr. Krupp, the end. For the first book in the series, I like it, and I did in single quotes teach have the time to mention that whenever Mr. Krupp heard that snapping, he turns back into the hero. This book is good, but not the best, so I'ma give it best tier. Next up we have Captain Underpants and the attack of the talking toilets. Here are all the chapters. So the boys want to get into an invention convention, but Mr. Krupp won't let them. BC of a prank they pulled last year. So they sneak in the place at night only to see our teacher's pet named Melvin Sneedly. George and Harold said that to Melvin if he DOES and teased Adeline and made one single quotes teach mess with Melvin's invention, which Melvin agreed only for him to rattle them out. The next day when the school got pranked, which put them in detention, and the boys made a comic which they put in Melvin's invention, and they made talking toilets who want to take over the world. And then someone snapped around Krupp, which turned him into Captain Underpants. Then the boys and the hero defeated the toilets, and a giant toilet defeated. The hero and the boys brought a robot to life, and the robot defeated the toilet. Then the boys became the principal for this day, and they made a huge party at the end. The sequel is good, but it's not my least fav. I'ma put it in good tier. Next up we have Captain Underpants and the invasion of incredibly naughty cafe ladies from outer space. So some space guys just wants to take over this world. They dressed up as lunch ladies so they can work as lunch ladies at a school. Little did Krupp know that lunch ladies turned everyone into zombies nerds. So one lunch lady snapped around Krupp, and Krupp turned into Captain Underpants. And the three heroes just went inside the space guy's ships, and they were taken in a cage. So the boys wanted to save the world by sacrificing themselves. But Captain Underpants had other plans, so the boys went with him, and the hero got superpowers. So Harold made root beer, and the zombie nerds drank it, and they are all back to normal to the end. This book is also good like the first one, so I'ma put that in best tier. Next we have Captain Underpants and the perilous plot of Professor Poopy Pants. So there's a country named New Switzerland, and this guy named Professor Poopy Pants came from this country. And George and Harold's the school needed a new science teacher, so that professor got hired. But he was just laughed at the entire time. After George and Harold made fun of the professor in their comic, Professor POOPYPANT started his villain arc. So he shrunk the school and made everyone change their name into a silly name, or they will be shrunk again. That's until the captain came in and defeated the professor. So the professor went in their jail, and he changed his name into Tippy Tinkle Trousers the end. This might be the first best book in the series, so each ATS going in goated tier. Last but not least, we have Captain Underpants and that terrifying return of Tippy Tinkle Trousers. This is the 9th book, and I read it in German. BC I got this for my day. So Tippy Tinkle Trouser escapes jail so he can find Captain Underpants. But the scientist went after Krupp so he can say it's where the boys are. So they found the boys, and they both snapped, purposely so Krupp can turn into Captain Underpants. So Tippy Tinkle Trousers wanted to freeze the captain, but Easty CCEDIANTE froze his robot's legs. So then we've been taken too. A flashback before George and Harold became friends. They had these 6th graders that bullied that young kids also them. So one day the bullies that bullied Harold. But George saw that bullies and he whooped them like Indiana Jones. So the boys were put in detention and they pranked the bullies for this many days to make them stop bullying. And the bullies stopped bullying, but Tinkle Trousers went back to that moment, and that drove the bullies insane, causing the future to be changed the end. This is the second best tier, which means I'll put it and go to tier. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching this vid. I single quotes. I'll see you next time.